What's up, y'all? I'm Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, one of the highest rated hospitality podcasts in the world, brought to you by us at Schedulefly. We provide a very simple web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. If you're on pencil and paper or Excel, or you're on some software with tons of bells and whistles and features you don't need or use, Schedulefly is the perfect place for you. Easy to use, point, click, and go, and we'll take great care of you. Schedulefly.com, free trial, check it out. Also, this podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, Pop Menu and The Giving Kitchen and Kickfin, and you're going to hear about them in just a minute. First of all, let's talk about today's guest. All right, y'all. Now, this is a good, fun, long episode with two guys, Ray and Danny from Barmetrix. I got the pleasure of getting to know them because of Dave Nitzel, who is a Barmetrix franchisee, and then Dave Nitzel and Dave Domzowski wrote this awesome book called Hospitality DNA. So that's how this all got started. I met Dave Nitzel. He told me about this book he and this other guy were writing, and sure enough, they did, and it's a great book. And we had Dave and Dave on to talk about Hospitality DNA after their book came out, and then Dave Nitzel's been back on since then. And I had the fortunate opportunity to hang out in person with Dave Nitzel and Danny and Ray, and Danny and Ray and I talked about Barmetrix for an hour and a half or something. It was a long conversation and really good. We didn't talk about Barmetrix for an hour and a half. We talked about business and hospitality and, their company and our company and how they built this awesome business and what they do. And, our business at Schedulefly is very similar, a very effective, simple solution to a common problem that is backed up by great people with great customer service. So I'd say, our cultures are very similar. And, well, you're going to enjoy this episode. So particularly, you want to listen into this if you have a bar program, because these guys can save you some money. And right now, any way you can save money is super important in the world of hospitality, as expensive as everything is. So check it out and stay around to the end of the episode and give us some comments, give us some ratings. We love having comments, ratings, whether you're on Spotify, iTunes. Share this episode around. Anybody you know that has a bar program, make sure they're listening to this episode. These guys are awesome, and their company's great, and their service is great, and, well, we're proud to have them on the show. See you. Give your team the gift of Pop Menu AI Answering, a simple solution for phones ringing off the hook. AI Answering handles calls 24/7, 365 days a year, so your staff can focus on in-person guests. Customize your greetings and responses, answer common questions, promote specials and events, and send follow-up links to ordering and reservations. AI Answering handles it all while escalating more complex conversations back to your team. Never miss another tasty revenue opportunity. Pop Menu, the marketing technology platform designed to make growing your restaurant easy. Discover more AI restaurant tools that turn your to-do list into an already done list by requesting a demo today. For a limited time, get $100 off your first month, plus lock in one unchanging monthly rate at popmenu.com. Go now to get $100 off your first month at popmenu.com. Be sure to tell them that Will from Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast and Schedulefly sent you. Y'all, this is a great business. I just told you what they like me to say. I will say that we have a lot of mutual customers at Schedulefly with Pop Menu. They all agree. Great product, great customer service, great results. Check them out, popmenu.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Giving Kitchen. Giving Kitchen provides emergency assistance for food service workers through financial support and a network of community resources. Since its inception in 2013, Giving Kitchen has served over 15,000 food service workers and awarded over $10.5 million to food service workers in crisis. If you or someone you know is a food service worker in crisis, please ask for help. thegivingkitchen.org. And again, that's thegivingkitchen.org. Y'all, this is a phenomenal organization. Jen, the founder, has been on this podcast. Jen Heidinger Kendrick, check out that episode to hear their full story. But if you know somebody or you need help, go to thegivingkitchen.org. Incredible organization, and very responsive, and has a wonderful mission. Check them out. This is cool. It's been a little while since I've done one of these live, and I'm here at Resident Culture in Charlotte. And I got two strapping young men hanging out with me, and we're going to share the story of Barmetrix. We just had a opportunity to present to a group of restaurant or bar owners here, and we decided to stick around and tell a story about a really cool company that has a very similar mojo and style and philosophy as us here at Schedule Fly. So guys, introduce yourselves.
My name is Danny Breaux. I've been with Barmetrix since 2013. I was originally a franchisee, and in 2022, I believe 2022, I bought into the global brand with my partner here, Ray.
Ray?
So my name is Ray Walsh. I've been with Barmetrix since 2004. I think I joined the company, so I'm coming up on sometime this year, my 20th year anniversary with Barmetrix. My background is technology. I was a software engineer. I worked for Fujitsu back in Dublin back in the day, up until around the time of the dot-com bubble collapsed in 2002, and went from there to Australia. I went via Korea for a year, and then I got involved with Barmetrix, then starting off as the technical manager at the time, working for the original founder of the business, was Sean Finter, who's a Canadian guy, and then from Sydney to Canada, down to Baltimore, and finally into DC for the last 10 years. So that's kind of how my random meandering of a career kind of went from Dublin in 2001 or 2 to where I am now in DC 20 years later.
We've done, I think this is like our 526th episode, and but it's the first one with a dude from Ireland with an Irish accent. So
okay.
This is the first.
I'll try and pump up my Irish accent a little.
Do we need to get some Guinness out of here and get you like really talking?
That would certainly help. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So you guys are part of a business that you've both been with and then invested in. So you clearly believe in what you're doing enough to put your money where your mouth is. And we got introduced because I met Dave Nitzel, who, Dave and Dave wrote Hospitality DNA. And when I first met Dave Nitzel at the Crunkleton, he was telling me about this book he was writing and all this stuff. And I was like, all these people he was interviewing. And I had no idea what, Barmet. I thought he was just a dude writing a book, and got to know him. And of course, now Dave has been on the podcast twice, once with Dave Domzowski and once by himself. And he presented today. Incredible dude, and has a lot of wisdom for this industry and has a lot of passion for what you all do. You guys have, from my experience, all the people I've come across, like really good people, which is so important to any great business. It's just having a good culture of good people and who believe in what you do. And so y'all are doing a great job with that. I'll say that. It's been very clear to me, all the people I've come across so far.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, during COVID was a really tough time when just recently, and it was, I think a lot of people had to question where they were in the industry and what they wanted to do. And I think, and for me too, as well. And I think during that time, the main thing for me was the culture at Barmetrix and the people here, and being able to work with some of these guys. It's just incredible experience, and I couldn't trade it for anything. And I didn't mean to get to that quick, but I think the people here, Nitzel's great. I'm assuming you had met with Domzowski as well, who's also
love
awesome.
That dude.
Sean had a really inspiring vision for the company when he got it started. I don't know if you had met him as well, but there's just a lot of really great people, and they're also spread across a lot of cool cities. So if you like to travel, it's nice to have a friend in a unique place. Your own kind of like a local guide to show you the best places around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, let's do this. So for our audience, let's start with what does Barmetrix do?
Can you go first? You want me to go first?
It's a funny question because when we talk about Barmetrix and what we do, there's always like the most mechanical answer, but I think in reality, like the purpose of why we exist is kind of the most important thing. And we really, really live and die by the hospitality industry. We love bars and restaurants. I think we're fans of bars and restaurants first and foremost, and that's where our passion is. And what we do to serve those businesses is we want to help them increase profits, and not really just from it's not. The function of what we do is to help them increase profits and improve the health of the industry. But we know when we increase profits, it not only does it trickle down and affect the owners of that business, but it usually changes the environment for the managers and the staff. I mean, the hospitality industry has more people working in it than almost any other industry in the country and in the world, and it's the most common way of connecting with people. And we know when we have a big impact on those businesses, it trickle down and affects the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you to take it a layer and a level down to what people kind of see on the ground, and the real reason why they bring a company like Barmetrix in is ultimately we help these businesses reduce their beverage cost, and on many occasions food costs as well, but the beverage program, the bar program is what we primarily focus on. When it comes to solving a problem, if you've got a venue or a bar owner or a restaurant that has got beverage costs that they're concerned about, you've got two options. You can there's the do-it-yourself model, which is you can try and figure it out with an Excel sheet, and you can count all the stock yourself, and you can figure out all the recipes and go through the point of sale system and go through all your purchases and serving sizes and all the different variables that's involved to do it, which is a very time-consuming, and often very inaccurate way of doing it. You can buy a better software systems. There's a lot of them that exist that work fine, or you have the option of using a company or service like Barmetrix, which is basically a done-for-you service, right? So we are, I did a video I think maybe last week just talking about a client of ours up in the Washington D.C. area where, we dropped their cost of goods by 5 points, and the impact of that it was about $70,000 or $80,000 immediately to the bottom line, and that's, as a company, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on the results, right? Our clients don't really care about the tools we use. They're interested in the data and the reporting, but it's not the reason why they pay us, month over month. They pay us because we get them the results that they need, and we provide a massive return on investment month over month. So, in terms of results, yeah, it's reducing their beverage costs and make a tangible impact on their bottom line.
So one of the things, I liked about Dave Nitzel's conversation today, the Inception archetype, is thinking about like who's your ideal customer? What does that person, or in this case, what does that restaurant or bar look like? Who's the perfect customer for Barmetrix?
So most bars and restaurants, whether they realize it or not, are losing about 10 to 20% of their bar inventory each week before we come in. So if you kind of looked at like what an ideal customer for us is like, anybody who's doing $10,000 or more in bar sales is a potential customer for us. The more sales they're doing, or the higher the volume is, what they're making off of the service we provide is really expressed as a percentage, and our fees are not based off of a percentage. So The busier the place is, the busier the establishment, the bigger the return on investment. We find that those guys tend to love us even more. But I think, anybody doing beverage sales, $10,000 a week, we're generally able to help. And so if that's your bar or restaurant, there's a Barmetrix near where you live, you're probably going to find a good partner in that.
How many cities are you all in?
Over 33 at the moment. We're in 33 cities kind of officially, but I would say, like, especially in my market, even in Louisiana, we service some of the cities outside of there as well, so it's probably a little bit more spread than that.
Yeah, and we're across, at this stage, 7 countries. So we're in Australia, the UK, Canada, US, Brazil, Dubai,
Holland.
And Holland, yeah, was the newest office.
And you have a franchise model.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it's franchise within the US, and then overseas we have it's very similar to the licensing model from a kind of a different legal structure, but they're effectively the same thing.
Okay, so you buy a market, and you say, like John here's got Charlotte.
Charlotte, yeah.
Okay, and that's, you predetermine what that geography looks like, zip codes or whatever it is, and that person that owns that is responsible for selling and then maintaining those relationships.
Yeah.
So they pay a franchise fee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I guess they pay you a percentage of the revenue, or
yeah, they'll pay us a royalty fee each month, and then we'll in return we provide them with all the technology. They get the branding, so they get to use the Barmetrix name. They get all the marketing material. We provide them with all the online training. There's effectively daily, weekly coaching or coaching on demand whenever they've got an issue. They call us up, and whether it's a technical issue, whether it's an issue with a client that has a particular problem and they want help with how to solve that problem, then we have a team, a head office team that will basically support them, manage, not so much manage the expectations, but really help them through the process of helping that client. So it's like any franchise system, right? They're not expected to come up with anything new. It's great when they do come up with new ideas, and we'll take those new ideas, whether it's a technology upgrade or a change, or whether it's some marketing ideas. But effectively from us, what they're purchasing is that business in a box. They're buying the idea, how do I create and run a consultancy business that sells a service to bars and restaurants within a particular city.
Okay. Why when did the franchise model start? Was that Sean that started? Like, take me back on that, and why do y'all do that versus hiring salespeople in 33 markets or whatever? By the way, I'm not questioning that. I'm super curious about that. I'm like learning for my own efficacy, because
I mean, look, it's a question that a lot of companies that are looking to expand, they contemplate, right? They're like, okay, we've got 2 options here. We can go down the sort of organic and self-fund it, or get some backing, get a loan from the bank, or you can go the franchise route. And the primary reason you go down the franchise route depends on the model, but one is so that you can use other people's capital to expand the brand, right? You also, the benefit of, by doing it through a franchise route, it's a lot easier when you have people who have skin in the game, so they have put their own savings into it, so they're a lot more motivated to grow the business. They're a lot more motivated to offer a better quality product and service because their whole livelihood depends on it. So that's the pro from it, and then on the con from a corporate perspective, from our perspective, then the margins are less. To some degree, you have less control over what happens in those markets outside of what's within the franchise agreement. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but from our perspective, it made more sense to go down the franchising route, and we started that when we moved from initially in Australia. So we didn't franchise in Australia initially. It was when we moved to Canada and expanded. That was the first time we opened up some franchise offices. So the model is, we've played around with it and we've looked at it, and there might be some situations where, we've just started servicing a big hotel group up in New York. Those clients are being serviced by our Washington, D.C. office at the moment. And that might be a situation where it's a close enough market we could hire some people in New York and then kind of oversee it from DC. That's another possibility that we're looking at outside of franchising.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are the first. I mean, I'm probably just two heads down and don't pay attention enough, but like I think of like other firms that service restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm so into the SaaS space, so maybe that's it. But like, are there? I mean, I always think of franchises as like my buddy bought a dog training franchise, and obviously restaurant franchises. But what y'all do, I'm thinking about this. 'Cause I'm sitting there going like, should we have franchisees at Schedule? You know, like.
I think it's. I mean, you can look at it the corporate perspective, and I always kind of have like a weird balance with Ray because he's come up from it since Australia, and I was one of the first franchise offices in the U.S. But like, I remember I was 29 years old. I was just finishing grad school and had been working in bars and restaurants like my whole life. I had an event promotions company. I was throwing events, and you know, a lot of people, they get to my age at the time, or, you know, I think that timing depends on the person, but you're like, you know, I love bars and restaurants, but I can't do the nights and weekends anymore. I had a girl that I was seeing and I wanted to marry, and I loved bars and restaurants. I actually had an opportunity to open a bar with my mentor at the time, but it just didn't feel right. But I still wanted to be in the industry, and I still wanted to, you know, help owners and operators. And I think the cool thing is it's a home-based business, right? So there's not a lot of capital that you need to get started. Like the amount of money that it takes, you have to get the franchise fee, which provides a lot of training and a lot of support, but you're in business for yourself at a pretty low cost without a lot of overhead. And it really provides the opportunity for somebody who's in the industry to kind of like really spread their wings and start a business for themselves, and kind of, you know, it was fantastic for me personally, just to be able to grow a business, and, you know, went far beyond what my promotions company before this was able to do. And you can do that within a framework where you're in business for yourself, but not necessarily by yourself, because I got a lot of support at the time from head office, but also the network was really great. Like the guys in Baltimore, Jason Yeager, Dave Domzowski in Miami, Matt Rolfe in Toronto, Ant in London. There's like all these guys that were kind of doing the same thing, helping you grow a business where you get to care about it. And it's, you know, you two guys have this big software background. I just knew bars and restaurants and felt comfortable with numbers, and you know, being able to kind of apply that and really dig in. I think there's a lot of other people that are like me, or like that are in my shoes, that love the industry, want to go in business, maybe don't feel like a bar or restaurant is the right spot, maybe don't have a ton of money to put together, but really want to do something for themselves. And I think being in a position to offer that opportunity for somebody is huge, and I'm hoping that we can do that. Do for more people what Barmetrix has done for me in the first place.
Has it gotten? Well, I mean, I know the answer to this, but I mean, I think about like maybe when you started, the amount of competition y'all have must have increased since then, or are you? I know there's other things that do, but like for somebody that really wants I think it's really hard to start it, you know. Okay.
It's really hard. And we were talking earlier about like how do you sell into places, and I think when nobody knows what you're doing or who you are, there's a lot of questions like, hey, do I trust this guy? Like he's saying that he's going to save me all kinds of money. He's what he's asking for is not inexpensive. It's not nothing. So would I want to take a chance on a person like that to do this? And you know, I think my first 10 clients are hard fought, hard earned, hard won, and I think that's still the case now. And it might be hard because there's a lot of software systems and other things out there, but for us to get more is really more of a question of how well the work we do inside those clients that already trust us. And I think what we find even now is, you know, lots of people have systems they can't get to work. To what Ray was saying earlier, kind of learning how inventory works it's a skill. It's a technical skill to know how to get these software systems set up. And there's a lot of people that are technically inclined that can do it. But if you're working with somebody that's set up a system like this and it's been in 10, 20, 50, 100 different places, they're going to have a totally different perspective on the best way to do it. And the best way to help them. And I think, what we find is we get tons of referrals, like our existing offices that are here get referrals all the time because they're frustrated trying to get this tech set up. It's not necessarily super simple like I think Schedulefly is, and I think that's kind of what stands out for y'all's thing, is that it's simple to use and it's easy. That's kind of where we fall in, is we're simple to use and easy because we take care of all the stuff for you.
Yeah.
And we do it for you, and you don't have to learn that technical skill, and you can go back to taking care of the guest and taking care of hospitality in that bar or restaurant and making sure you're focused on what matters, and we'll take care of the inventory and the numbers for you.
I think that's key as well, is that what we are is we're in a world that's sort of been taken over by technology, right? Every problem you have, there's a technology solution, but we've always been such a people-based business backed up by technology. So we have our own technology, our own proprietary technology. So we're sort of like, we're agnostic to what a client already has. Like, we can work with any type of venue. And so we're there to not replace what they have in-house, but if what they're doing is not working, or if they have a problem, then another technology solution is typically not going to solve the problem. And so that's where that combination of people and technology works for us. And so back to your original question around, what's the competition now? There's not so much been an increase in direct competition. There's certainly been an increase in a lot more sort of distractions, like a lot more shiny objects.
Yes.
That for sure.
That work, but to get them to work requires so much energy internally to get them to work properly. That often a lot of people who've tried it and they've said, okay, I can't get it to work, and I might be getting numbers every month, but they're not doing anything with the numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, what's the point? What's the point of getting these numbers if you're not going to do anything with them? And even then, they're not sure if those numbers are correct. So, we'll often get calls by controllers in hotels saying, hey, I don't really trust the numbers I'm getting from the F&B department. And I need somebody to come in to verify it and to make sure, one, that the numbers are clean and accurate. And then once I know that the numbers are clean and accurate, and then I'm, what's the next step? Like, can I improve those numbers? And how do I improve those numbers? So that's why for us it's very important to talk to those people who are directly affected by those numbers. And I think that's where there's always going to be better, newer systems. They'll continue to improve, but people will always be involved in managing those systems. So a lot of our clients, especially those independent groups, they don't have a big back office team, right? They're not like one of the big chains like a TGI's that probably everybody uploads their numbers on a weekly basis, and then you have got a back of house team that are all analyzing this data. The private independents do not have the resources. They don't have that team of people that can stay on top of that, right? These guys are just doing a million other different things from week to week. So we take a massive amount of responsibility and workload off of these guys, and we allow them to do what they want to do. And then we really focus on what we know well, and kind of just giving them small steps to coach them along.
How do you, okay, let's say I'm John here, and I'm going to call on these restaurants, and I go to one, and they've got, 2 locations, and they each do 20 plus grand a week or whatever, it's more than enough for your criteria, but they say, I think what we're doing is working just fine right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do it myself, or what? Like,
that is the most common thing I hear.
I would imagine
when I talk to somebody. Yeah,
I think what we're like. Why would I spend whatever it is with you? Do you go do y'all go? Give us a month. We'll prove it to you for free or something. Like, how do you get them over that hurdle? The
thing to me, I think, anyone we work with, I hate to be in a situation where I work with somebody for like a month or two, and it just doesn't seem good for them, because there's a lot of effort for us into working with a new client. And I think more importantly, before they commit to do anything or doing something with us, we don't have contracts or we don't have terms. We want to make it easy to start with us or easy to leave if it doesn't show value. So when we come in for the first time, they do say, I think we're good. Like, everything seems fine. We're happy with the way things
good.
are.
Yeah.
I don't really want to disrupt my staff or this or that. And I'm like, I totally understand. I think most of the time what we see, though, is we see this opportunity with places. So generally what we ask the operators is, let us come in and do 3 counts. We're going to take a ton of notes on everything we see. We work with a lot of different places. And let me just look at what your numbers are. We'll put it together. We'll put all the work in. And at the end of the day, instead of me telling you, like, this is what most bars do, I have no idea what your bar's doing. You might be excellent, and I have no business talking to you about it. But if I find something that can help you and you like us, or great. If I can't, or you just don't like hanging out with me, or you found that we were annoying when we were in here, we'll go away and shake your hand and say, thank you very much for the opportunity. But generally what happens is we'll go in, we'll do a few counts, we'll look at a couple of reports together, and we'll see, there might be a lot more skin in the game than they realize, and there might be a lot more potential sitting in that business. And our goal is really to help those people uncover that potential, because we know the numbers kind of speak for themselves after being in so many places. It's tens of thousands of dollars on the low end.
What does that mean, you do a count?
I guess we didn't really explain exactly what it is. We do an inventory control process where we come in with our own handhelds, our own laptops, our own scales. We'll physically perform the inventory for them. So we'll weigh every bottle, every keg, every bottle of wine, anything that's open, every batch. We'll download sales from the point of sale. So we'll integrate their point of sale system with our software. We'll set up a database specifically for them. We'll enter their purchases, and we'll do 3 consecutive counts. We'll do a baseline count where we count everything in the building twice. Then we'll come back 2 weeks in a row. And what we want to do is put 2 reports together so we can compare numbers and trends side by side to see what their numbers look like in the business. And the goal for us is to see, what's happening here, and is there an opportunity for them to save some money, or is there an opportunity for them to improve operations in some way? And what we find when we look at these most of the time is that there is that opportunity. And once we want to get in on a plan with the managers and the owners to fix whatever's happening and bring a system in to kind of bring them up to a whole nother area of profitability.
Okay, what is the implication? Okay, so if you come in and you do your measurements, you weigh all the alcohol. So there's a bottle of Pinhook bourbon, and per their sales numbers, I know the guys who started that.
Okay.
One of my buddies is one of the founders. You like Pinhook?
I do.
We should get you connected with him. Sean is down in New Orleans, one of the co-founders. I got to know him through my buddy. But anyway, it's good bourbon.
Yeah.
So Pinhook.
Pinhook.
Okay. And according to my sales, by the number of shots that were poured or drinks that were made, I should have half a bottle left, but I've got 10% of a bottle left.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to show them that, and then the question becomes,
why?
Why
is it missing? And it's not even necessarily saying that people aren't ringing stuff up or they aren't doing the correct thing. I really believe in kind of trying to figure out what the real reason is. And if it's Pinhook bourbon, maybe their normal pour is 1.5 ounces and they're selling a lot of old fashions and they're not upcharging properly for the Pinhook. And now we have to go into the point of sale and see how the POS is set up, how they're ringing up old fashions. If they're charging the correct amount, maybe they're pouring 2 ounces for a rocks or a neat pour instead of the 1.5 ounces. And what they're doing is it's leaving money on the table where they should be getting more for the customer, and they don't have those systems in place. Or maybe there's a couple things that just
house drinks.
House drinks.
Okay.
And so, I liked Pinhook bourbon, and I stayed after close one night because I had a long shift, and
you are giving them very clear, measurable data to go.
Why?
This is what this is the extra cost to your business that we've found, and it could be $30,000 last month that we've identified that's not there, then the customer then can start to explore what's like why is that,
and we take it upon ourselves too to like,
and you help them try to figure that out.
We're not in the business of just like giving somebody a report and be like, okay, it was missing, figure it out, or
okay,
done,
that's
whatever.
that was my okay.
And so the first step for us is getting that report, and then there's usually a number of things that are going to lead to a problem. And so if you have these numbers and you have these quote unquote losses, is we kind of want to understand why, like what are they doing to create those losses? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it could be something honest, something simple, something they just haven't thought of. But I think when we go and spend the time to figure out what's causing it, we want to work with them to get those losses lower. So if their losses are 10 to 20%, our goal is to take every client that we work with below 5%, and most of the ones that we work with over time are getting 3% or less. And we know when we do that, and we can provide that for people on a consistent basis, that's when we're making the real difference. But and that's also where the experience comes from, working in more than just your restaurant. So if you go and buy a software solution or something like that, you don't necessarily have the experience of seeing what those problems are created when you work in 10 different types of places. And when you get that sort of market knowledge and you get to see what's causing it, it really helps you investigate and discover those things. So I could say, why is that pinhook missing? Or I could say, what else are you selling? What are you serving the pinhook in? How is this? Like it may very well be, I am a pinhook fan, so may very well be old fashioned. It may very well be that they're just drinking it neat or on the rocks. They're getting a heavier portion. And, if I'm in New Orleans, for instance, I know that we're charging a little bit more for those heavier pours. And so it would be my goal to help the operator get their POS set up a little bit differently so they could take advantage of the opportunity just to run their business a little bit better. And it could be, that's just one example from one product or from one category of products. And there could be a dozen other things happening. And we kind of want to dig into every layer of a report to figure out, where we're going to help that business improve.
There's a big challenge for the craft brewery space. They're closing, and they're going to keep closing. They oversaturated market. I understand from what I've read that there are a lot of high-end cocktail lounges that are becoming really popular, which seems like that would be a good thing for what y'all are doing, because at the same time, it's just getting expensive as hell to go do anything now. Like it's hard to go. I mean, just everything costs more. Dave told the story earlier about a couple of Taco Bell tacos and a enchilada or whatever it was for $15. So I'm just thinking, I've never owned a restaurant or a bar. I sure have interviewed a lot of them, and I know that what they're seeing right now is, okay, we better we got to make sure that we're not just.
Yeah.
I think we're doing fine. I think we're doing fine thing may have worked for the last 10 years when there was free money and there was a lot of places open, and it was like we're all doing great. But I would imagine that comment will be eliminated from the conversation by and large over the next couple of years. I think we're doing fine is going to turn into, I think we are, but you guys better check, because if I can save $10,000, whatever it is, I'm in. Like, we got to do this, because it's getting harder. I mean, like if you run a restaurant or a bar and you're independently owned, it's going to be kind of a tough. We're already seeing it.
I don't think there's a restaurant in the country that hasn't just had to just struggle through just coming out of COVID with the labor shortage, with people expecting more, that want to get paid more, that need to get paid more to come into work. So as those labor costs go up, and those businesses have to operate under a new constraint of higher wages, the only way you have to offset that. You have to raise prices, you have to lower your costs, and you have to you have less room for error, less margin for error if you're going to make that business run. sad to hear what's happening with some of the craft breweries that you're seeing here. But if you're not on top of these things, they can quickly get away from you, and we're definitely in a less forgiving environment than we were, before COVID.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. The other side of this coin is, y'all tell me, I'm reading that people are, especially the younger generation, they're drinking less. But then I don't know, like maybe spiritless cocktails are growing or something like that. Is that part of your
I mean, we'll
it's probably
see.
a dumb question. I don't know.
No, I mean it's a really good
not at all.
question. It's because we'll see the trends, right? Because we're seeing all the data. We have all the sales data, the purchase data, right? And so we can identify if there's a turn in the market, right? If you see a dip in a lot of the stuff, you got to make sure it's not just seasonal trends is happening. And so when that's happened, and when we can see that data, then we will look to kind of communicate that to our client base. In that situation, it's what the market decides to do is out of our control, right? We can only really focus on what's happening, maximizing what our clients are doing with their business based on the current circumstances. So, but trend data is certainly something that we keep an eye on, and we can help operators say, look, we're seeing this in the marketplace.
Yeah, there's some spiritless stuff that we'll see, and there's certainly some new mocktails that are pretty cool. But I would think, and it's definitely grown kind of as a percentage of sales. But, mocktails relative to the rest of the cocktail menu, I hope it's a trend that continues. I think it's great. But it's not been something to me that there's been a cause of concern. I do think the younger generation is drinking a little bit less. It seems like there's some habits that have changed in the last few years. But, I think trends are trends. I think people, like human nature, we're going to crave being in social settings. We're going to crave talking to people. Alcohol is a bit of a social lubricant to make some of those interactions a little smoother and a little easier. And, I'm not really...
I think what you will see at the moment, where the trends we've seen is since COVID, you'll see where certain areas have been dramatically affected, right? So the downtown areas where you had a lot of the office workers that were in there 5 days a week, and so there was a lot of happy hours, a lot more events, a lot more happening at lunch. I think it's a kind of a universal thing that the CBD areas have been affected more so than a lot of other places, and a lot of the business took off in the suburban areas, right?
Yeah. The suburbs really took off since then.
And so that's, then that's kind of makes sense, right? You can see it happening. That's just a sign of, what's happening. I don't think it's going to go back. I think the hybrid work model is here to stay. And so businesses and cities are having to adapt to okay, we've got all this downtown office space now. What are we going to do with it? Yeah. And so a lot of them are trying to turn it into either apartments or and some other attractions to draw people back downtown again, which is going to be very important, but tricky, right? When everybody sort of moves out to the suburbs.
Yeah.
And we don't really lock down our offices to a specific area. So if you're in Chicago, you can work Chicago. If you're in New York, you'll be able to work New York. So if the business left downtown and it's in the suburbs, go get the business in the suburbs.
Right.
I mean, and the only other funny, I'm thinking back to the 2008 recession, where obviously a lot of businesses suffered quite a bit. We dropped a little, but not that much. Which was kind of a sign that a lot of people sacrificed on a lot of other stuff, but they didn't really sacrifice on going to bars and restaurants, right? Or they might have slightly, but it didn't have a big impact on our business and a lot of our clients' businesses at the time.
I think the thing I wonder about is, do we have an upcoming generation of people that are just starting to drink or growing into it that spent formative years in COVID that are doing what we talked about at breakfast this morning, that are staying at home more, that aren't prepared for social interactions like we were. They aren't free range kids like we were. They engage over like what we're doing right now with a freaking microphone and a headset, but they ain't in the same room with the people they're talking to. They're talking through a game console, and then so they're, instead of going out, they're socializing that way, and they're drinking at home.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I do think there's going to be more of that. But I also agree, this stuff gets, we go through trends and stuff, but people, we are humans. We crave interaction. We want to be around people. I think we're like we talked a little this morning, I think we're starting to learn, and I think these kids that have kind of maybe in that wave will be like, dude, like, forget this technology. Like, we missed the boat, and we don't want our kids to, like, we need, people are social, and we want to be around people. I mean, we all at Schedulefly work out of our houses. We've never had an office. I go to coffee shops. I go other places most of the time to work, even if I don't know the people, and I'm not even talking to the people other than like the cat. I just want to be around people. I mean, I go to freaking Publix, like Publix grocery store. I sit up there in this thing, and there's like nobody else there, but I'm like, I'm at least around people, and I just look and I see people shopping. I'm like, cool, I got people around me. Like, we want that. Like, it's a natural instinct. So it really is. It's just, there's a lot of weird, different changes going on right now. But, you guys have, I do think, like, okay, so let's say more places are closing. It's harder to go out. The market contracts. Like, what y'all do, up or down, is, so you're selling less, then you better make sure you're not. Well, like, if your top line's going down, then you better, right? Like, what y'all do is, I mean, I love what you do, and I love, as I do with our business and any of these other businesses that we might have a good relationship and interact with. I always feel like technology's fine, but people make businesses great. People make restaurants great. Like, there's no great restaurant. I don't care how much tech. I don't care if they have all the best point of sales and this, that. It's always about people. That's what wins, because people care about how you make them feel. And the way you make them feel good is to have interaction with people more than anything else. It's not because I don't feel great because I got to sit at my table and order food from a QR code. Like, I feel awesome. No, it's because some person came up and made you feel special. Right? It's people. And your business is people. And if John's here and he's building great relationships with people, and you mentioned this, trust is so important. So it's a long game and it takes time. I mean, but that's what gives you all always an advantage. Tech will come and go. Shiny new bells and whistles will come. We've seen it. We've seen it for 17 years now. Like, but I always say, like, at Schedulefly, that we dollar cost average into the restaurant business. Like, there's waves of things that come. COVID comes, we go down, and then we kind of we got hit with a ransomware attack. We go down, and then other $500 million of money comes in, and all this shiny stuff. And people always have new mania, like, oh, the new thing, new toy, and then they go, oh, well, but the people aren't good. Like, the people. So what do? They come back to where there's good people, and that's. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on some big, but I think that what y'all are doing, it's very clear to me that that's a big part of your ethos, and I think that that's a winning formula for the long play always. No matter what things are outside of your control, it's like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference, right? The serenity prayer, like, courage to change the things I can. The things I cannot change, I accept that. That's fine. So look at Dave. He's always around a mic. He's always trying to get himself.
I knew he'd get crashed this party. Look at him.
We've been talking about you, man.
You've popped up a few times.
Mostly in positive ways.
Mostly.
Anyway, I didn't mean to.
Well, I mean,
No, I appreciate that. I do think you're right too about there's possibly a couple years of, not an entire generation, but at least 2 years of a generation where it was those people in their formative years that were not used to going out. They did not have the same cultural habits. So to see how that kind of develops will be interesting. But yes, people paired with the solution that we have, I think, is really where where we step in and we really want to set ourselves apart. And I mean, people's also the reason that I've continued to choose to be here.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, because we're, from a client's perspective, they always want a person, their ideal situation. If you have a problem, your ideal situation is to have a name of a person you can call.
I need a guy.
Yeah, that's
exactly
right.
Who's my guy? Like, hey, can you take care of that? Like, can you just tell me? Like, just go do whatever
on call,
it is you do.
And like it's
and yes, I'll take care of that for you, and I'll have it for you tomorrow, or I'll have it for you in 5 minutes. And it's just, there's an incredible.
And that's one of the biggest
mind.
complaints that people have, right? Is like with some of the major technology companies, right, that were so popular, and then they realize, I can't get, I've got a problem, I got a question, I can't get anybody on the phone, and nobody wants to sit on the phone for 30 minutes to get talked to from somebody overseas that doesn't know the answer to the question.
Or I won't name this other company's name, but I will say that a lady who worked for one of our customers for a long time and loved schedule flying, she went somewhere else, and she's like, and they used one of our competitors, and she's like, I can't stand them. I'm like, why? Like, I hear, they have, she's like, it's every single time I need help or I have a question, they're trying to sell me something else, right? Because like they keep adding on stuff. So it's like, oh, you don't use this, and she's like, it's a sales pitch when I just want, she's like, I can't stand it. And like, that's what happens with a lot of companies that start trying to do so many things. You're funded and you got to get growth. So everybody's a salesperson. And then this service aspect is just, and I need a guy. Like, that's it. Like something's always going to break. Like, right? Murphy's Law, whether it's technology, whatever it is, you want to just be able to go.
Bringing Murphy's Law to the Irishman, he knows.
Right, that's right. I didn't even think about that. He's like, yeah, no shit, dude. You know where that started?
I've heard of that one. Yeah. I've used it a few times.
But it's so true. I tell you, it's boy, you really you figure that out during COVID, right? Like, you're in a restaurant and a bar, and like, who's gonna, who had your back? We benefited a ton from that, because we just told people, like, if you can't pay, then don't, like, we're leaving your account on, but if you can't pay, then don't pay, and you just pay us when you can. And I mean, the amount of loyalty we got from that, just helping people when they're down. They need that.
We were no contracts, no terms, and pre-COVID, I was constantly terrified I was going to let somebody down. And then, after COVID, when everybody called us back to start up again, and people were let down by someone else and they called us instead to come back, it was very gratifying, very secure. But I think it's just the choices you make during those times really kind of show character too. That's cool that y'all did that. I didn't even know.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's just like, well,
it's like
we
the
were
right
lucky
thing to do, and you put yourself in a position where you could do that. Like, you didn't have an investor or something that had
we didn't have a bunch of VCs going hell no, you're not. Like, I don't care, they're paying. No, which other companies did, but so okay. Like, when we lose a customer, it's not common, but it happens. It's one of two things. It's either they close, nothing we can do about that. We see that all the time, or somebody came in with either this like all-in-one thing or something else, like they got sold on, this new thing, and then they move along. Now, it's not uncommon that after a year or 6 months they come back because they're like, okay, wasn't all it was cracked up to be. But I kind of know, like, that's it. Like, that's why we would lose somebody. Those two things. When you all lose a customer, why do you lose a customer?
I mean, I think it's very similar. Some of the the reasons that you mentioned. If we had a client close down, if we've had a client that is selling, and so you lose that relationship with the guy that's there, because the business is so built off a trust and relationship with the decision maker, the owner, the manager of that business. So when somebody new comes in, they don't know us. They're like, well, they haven't used a service like ours before. It takes time to kind of reintegrate yourself to that new to that new prospect and to that new client. So it'll happen in those situations. It'll happen if economical situations, if there's a big downturn in the economy and their revenue drops massively. Maybe they're seasonal. That can happen as well.
a core value of ours too is to own our outcomes. And I think, you know, the level of service that we're going to give kind of really dictates whether somebody's going to use us or not. So if we're going in through a cyclical thing, you know, if we're doing a really good job for the customer, then they see the value and they know that they're getting way more than they spend. If we're not doing a really good job, then they're going to say, hey, this is expensive, you know. The numbers are great, the information's great, but like I need to get better. And I think for me personally, I think it's, you know, you really, you know, when we go into a place, we dive in. Like I'm not here to check a box for you. Like I'm here to kind of jump in and help make your business better. And ideally, if you're working with us, that's the kind of partner that you're looking for, and that's the kind of partner that you want. It's not somebody that you just never hear from or is not there in it with you. I mean, same kind of relationship, I think, in a way that you guys developed, and it just from the way you're describing it, like, oh, we're not going to charge during COVID because I see y'all are going through it. I'm in it with you. You know, we're in it with our customers, and I think we can also lose. I'm not ashamed to admit it. We can lose clients from messing up, you know. But if we do, I mean, I think that's rare. But if we do, we own it. And I think most of the time, if we're doing a good job and somebody leaves for one reason or another, they often come back because they see that some things just don't feel right, like the way that they did when we were there. If they're looking at it to cut costs, they're like, hey, you know, we thought we were cutting costs, but we realized after you were gone, we're spending more money than we were in the first place, and we really need you to come back in here. And I think a lot of times when people leave, they come back and they're a little bit, they're even more loyal, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
after the
that's
fact.
what happens for us for sure.
It's like, yeah, we tried something else, and like, yeah, we're with you guys.
All right, y'all, it is time for a little mid-episode break. We're going to talk about Kickfin. Thousands of restaurants, bars, and breweries use Kickfin to tip out their employees instantly. No cash required. With Kickfin, tips go directly to your employees' bank of choice the second their shift ends. It's a really simple solution to a really big problem because if you're still paying out credit card tips in cash, it's costing you. Time-consuming bank runs and cash counting take managers away from work that matters. Cash is hard to track, which leads to accounting headaches, and it creates the perfect opportunity for theft, human error, and compliance issues. Bottom line, there's never been an instant secure way to pay out tips until Kickfin. It's an easy-to-use software that sends real-time, cashless tip payouts straight to your employees' bank accounts, 24/7, 365. Kickfin gives managers hours back in their day, makes reporting a breeze, and protects your business from risk. Most importantly, employees love it. Restaurants can have Kickfin up and running overnight. Employees can enroll in seconds. No hardware, no contracts, no setup fees. Visit kickfin.com for a personalized demo. See how restaurants across the country are digitizing tips with Kickfin. All right, that's what they asked me to say, so I say it, and it tells the story very well, but I like to add this in. We referred a customer that we know and love very well, Sup Dogs, to Kickfin. Sup Dogs has been a customer for a super long time. Trust them very much with their opinion on these types of tools. They started using Kickfin. I asked Brett, the owner, recently how it's going. He said, Kickfin is perfect. It's going great. Exactly what we were hoping for. So there you go. Kickfin.com, y'all. Check them out.
So you don't have people that are like, okay, we're spending, like after you came in and you're like, look, you said you thought things were fine. We kind of proved that they weren't. Now you're spending a couple grand a month or whatever it is. 4 years later, they're like, I think we can just do this in-house. Like, you don't have, like, that's not, in other words, like our GM can, like, we know what to do. Like, because you guys are in.
It can come up, I think.
I mean, how many, when you're in a place, you're in like, I mean, I've talked to Dave before. He's like.
10 years. Like, I have places that.
No, but I mean, like, you're in a place, like, you're physically in the place.
We're
like,
in there, every week or
every
2
week.
weeks.
Yes. And you're in there, like, early in the morning.
Early
like
in the morning, yeah.
Yeah.
In there from like maybe 6. Yeah, well, it depends on the type of venue, but you know, if
you get to know the people
lunch.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Dave once. So I don't know. I called him like early I'm like, I know you're an early guy. He's like, yeah, I'm here counting. It's like, let me call you back. Like he was somewhere like.
He was in the thick of it, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was like
Yeah.
6:30 in the morning or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like it would be really hard for somebody to unwind what you're doing and bring it in house
I mean, it's the temptation is there, right? Because everybody. Look,
But you also get them on a.
Everybody has
You
to-
get them good at what they're doing, so it's almost like.
well,
Is there?
I think a lot of places too, like we're mindful of our budget, and I think most of the time when we're starting a place, kind of regardless of volume, we're usually starting every week in the very beginning. But our goal is not necessarily to be there every week. Like we will voluntarily reduce the frequency that we come in, so we will cut back over time. Our fee goes up a little bit per visit. But our goal is not to kind of maximize the juice out of one person. We are there to kind of help build value. And I think kind of a step further than just like the service itself, if something's wrong in their business, ideally, like those customers are hearing from us before they have to ask for us to help. So like imagine if you have something going wrong with your inventory or wrong with your numbers, and you've been getting a report about it, sure, but maybe you had 1,000 other emails or 1,000 other things going on, weren't really paying attention. Like somebody calls you to go in and help, or somebody comes in a few extra times to really dig in and figure out when it's happening or who might be responsible, or how, or just trying to figure out how your POS needs to be fixed to get things done differently. When you have somebody in there with you, helping you, you're kind of not really thinking about it anymore.
Okay.
And I think if we found ourselves in a situation where we're not delivering the type of value that creates those relationships, we really don't deserve to be in there. And I think for us, we got to prove our worth, and I think it's kind of makes you feel a little bit more alive to know that like what you're doing matters, and you're literally going in there and helping an industry that needs it.
Mm-hmm. You've got so John here. How long has he been?
He joined about
6-7 months.
Yeah, maybe 6 months ago. Yeah.
So when you buy a franchise, I'm assuming you start out like one man show, one woman show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so you're selling it, and then you're going in early, and you're doing and then you get to a point maybe where you're like, should you choose, you would maybe hire in somebody to do the counts or whatever. And okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So you could just grow your own business within your franchise, just like any franchisee. Like
absolutely,
you could eventually hire salespeople that help you sell, and because you're doing so well. I mean, theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk like Danny's business in New Orleans,
I have an office in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and so there's 6 people in Baton Rouge, 8 or 9 in New Orleans, and an assistant that helps with both. So,
were you the top performing franchise?
He's been, so the New Orleans office has so we have an annual conference every year. So we bring everybody comes in from overseas and within the US. And so as part of that, we have an award ceremony. So it's like a couple of different metrics. There was top office, there's best performing newest office. So the New Orleans office has been number 1. I'm not sure there was so for the last 3 or 4 years it's been number 1. Our Toronto office was probably the biggest office pre-COVID, and they had a team of 20-25 people up there.
We beat them the year before COVID.
Oh, did you? Oh, there you go. I stand corrected. But very, they were, a lot of people, awesome, a big team. But they started off with, 1 or 2 guys initially, and that's the beauty of the business, right? You don't need to take on extra risk and investment until the clients are there. So the idea is that
clients fund the growth.
Clients bring, so it's a slower growth, but it's a far more safer.
Yeah, you can make money at any level, so you can kind of get a handful of clients and hit the ground running, and you can kind of replace your salary pretty quickly. But as you add on clients and you build your team, it gives you the chance to grow personally as well. And I think
and that recurring business, if you compare it to other maybe hospitality consultants, right, they are always kind of chasing their next gig. But in our model, it's a recurring business model, right? So it's like a software subscription with people and technology. So our clients will pay us either, depending on their frequency, either every week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we've had clients going back 20 years from when we started in Sydney, Australia, that are still with us to this day and have been paying us week over week, month over month, year over year. So that allows you then to compound, because every new client you bring on, as long as you offer really great service, as long as you get results, and that's the key thing, we've got to get results for our clients. Otherwise, there's no point. And if you do that, they'll stick with you, and they'll understand that, okay, I can offload a piece of my, part of my process to these guys. They're the experts at it. I don't need to train people in-house. I don't need to hire people specifically to do it, and they can see the return. And that's allows, that's why Danny's business has got over 100 clients that he's servicing, week over week, month over month. So, and that's a nice business model. Like it's not easy, but like any business, but it's can be a very efficient and profitable business if you do it properly.
Yeah. Okay. When's your flight?
Oh,
It's 4. I just want to make sure we're not.
10:30 at night.
Oh, when's your
I'm
flight?
safe.
Mine's at 7.
Okay, so we got a little bit more, and we'll wrap up, because you want to be at that Charlotte airport.
Yeah, probably.
It's a freaking mess getting in there. Do you have a rental car? Or?
I don't. I'll get an Uber.
You getting okay? That's good.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Yeah.
It's a freaking nightmare. I mean, I drove to Columbus last week. I drove to DC when I came up.
It's a big airport. I've
It's
connected in
big.
there
It's
so many
like
times.
constant. The biggest part is, it's okay to connect, and it's okay if you're in an Uber.
Yeah.
If you're parking out there and going through security and all that, you just have to be there so freaking early. It's just, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else should we talk about, y'all? I mean, I have a really good handle, I think, on what y'all do and your value proposition. I think anybody listening does. I think you clearly articulate what y'all are about, who you serve, why you serve them, why you're valuable extraordinarily well.
I think it would be good. Just a common question we get quite often is in terms of finding new franchisees or who's a good fit for this type of business is an important aspect, because anytime I'm talking to people who are interested, it's more like a recruitment process rather than a sales process. It's like a two-way recruitment process when it comes to franchises.
Okay.
Because you are, the person coming in is interviewing companies, right? They're looking at many different opportunities, because you're not the only company that they're interested in. Like if they're interested in franchising, they're like, I'm interested in taking the leap from being an employee to being an owner, and so there's 1,000 different franchises.
So they might be looking at all kinds of different verticals.
All
like
kinds
my
of-
buddy who bought the dog training franchise could have well also
Could have
spoken to
seen,
you.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
'Cause
So you're okay.
The way they break them up is to say, if you have a franchise broker, they will.
Do you have
say-
a broker, or do they? Or do
They'll tip. I mean, if I was looking to buy a franchise, then I probably would look at using a broker, because it's like a real estate agent. They're free to the person buying.
yeah.
They're like.
But I
free
mean,
of
do
it.
you have a franchise? Like, do you all sell them in house, or do you have somebody
We
that
sell
sells
them
for you?
Over the years, we've used brokers previously. At the moment, we don't use any brokers.
So they just come right to you.
It did just come right to us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the first part of that conversation is what's your investment level? Like, do you have capital to invest? And then it then starts the two-way interview of, would you be a good fit for this business? Are we a good fit for you? Like, what are your expectations? For us, this type of business, you could have a lot of people really good at being consultants, really good at being operators, but if you don't have any clients to consult to, then that's a big problem, right? You're not going to be able to pay your bills. So, we're very clear up front to say that, hey, this is a B2B business. You got to be able to go out and grow your network. You got to go out and meet people. You got to build relationships, and that takes usually a certain level of personality, right? Because not everybody, not many people want to do it, but a lot of people can do it and will force themselves to do it. So you have to I'm very frank with that up front, because if you're not willing to get out, and I did a video recently about, and I used the word hustle a lot because I felt that was the best. Hustle has a lot of negative connotations, but
I love hustle.
It's just, you gotta have that, especially as you're launching a new, and any type of business. But if you're a business that's not a Subway store where people are just gonna see if they want to buy a Subway sandwich or not and walk in our type of business, you got to go hunting for business.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is not just sitting at home expecting phone calls.
Yeah.
And you got to go out, you got to meet owners, you got to let them know you exist, you got to introduce yourself, you got to tell them about your service, and you got to do that over and over again, because the first time round, it's not a case of, oh my God, I've been waiting for you all my life, I'm now going to buy the service.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've seen you, it's the first time I've ever met you, I get an idea of what you're saying, but I'm not interested. You've got to be able to come back, multiple times, as you know.
Takes a lot
from the
of
sales
grit,
game.
I think.
A lot of grit. There's an energy level there to it, but also there's a personality side, and I think we've done, one of the things we're most proud about is the culture within and the people that we've brought into the network. We've got maybe 30 or so owners from all parts of the world in the network, and what they are all universally is they're all really good people. They're all bought into helping others and helping the network grow, and so they'll take a phone call from anybody in the business, right? So they don't need to come to head office for support all the time. They want to get a different perspective, they could call our guy in Australia, call our guys in Holland, wherever, right? And that's part of the recruitment process for us, is making sure that they're going to fit into the culture.
Yeah, do they have the values that we know they need to succeed? So it's important to us that it's probably unspoken, but there's like a no assholes rule.
Yes.
It's got to be a guy that wants to help others. It's ready to put the people they're working for above themselves, because we know when they do, they'll be successful. But it's also one of the reasons we have such a cool group of people, is that it's been kind of innate in everyone that's come through.
Do you have somebody in Charleston?
We do not. We would love somebody in Charleston. It's a great market.
Oh my gosh. I'm sitting here thinking, you take a market, you just kind of have to go, hustle and grit. If you don't have that, you can forget it. I don't care whether you're a franchisee or again, I keep talking about my buddy with the dog training business. It's a great model, good blah, 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 blah. You got to get after it.
Yeah.
You got to hustle. You just have to hustle. You have to be a good salesperson. That doesn't mean a salesy salesperson that is just I always talk about I always say you got to be dog after a ball. When I talk to salespeople, I'm like, you have to be dog after a ball. My Springer Spaniel, God rest her soul, we put her down last month. 16 years, man, she had a good life. But you throw that ball, she's going after that ball. Yeah, every single
like the first time she's ever seen that ball.
Yeah. You got to have that. It's like you're wagging your nub and you're just like, I'm going. You just, if you don't have that freaking mentality, man, but if you take a market like Charleston, you go, your mentality has to be every worthy not being like everybody that fits our criteria, every single one of them is going to be my customer one day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep going until they're my customer. They may say no, they may tell me no, until they literally say
no means not now.
Don't come in here or we will have you arrested. You just professionally persistent.
Yes, professionally persistent, yeah.
And a very professional and the right time and the right level of persistence. You just go, I'm just going to keep going. Yeah. And then they're going to be my customer one day. Period. End of story. And I'm not stopping until they are, and they are, and they are, and they are.
It's who made up their mind first. Was it you or was it the customer?
Yeah, you don't know this, but you're going to be my customer.
Yeah.
Maybe not now. That's what you have to think.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I'll be back next month.
Yeah.
And then, but you're going to be my customer.
I'll
show you.
If my favorite restaurant, if you're my favorite restaurant, we will work together because I love you guys, and that's how it's going to be.
And by the way, when you think that way and you communicate that in a professionally persistent way, and they see that you keep showing up, and that you do have that passion, and that you do love what you're doing, because you believe in it, you really believe in it, not just I got to hit my quota this month.
Yeah.
But you really believe that what you're doing is helping them.
Yeah.
Then they'll see that, and they will become your customer, and then you'll take great care of them, and they'll stay your customer. the money follows. I always say, like, if you really want to be successful in business as an entrepreneur, whether it's a franchisee or you're starting, you can't think like, here's my plan and I'm going to have this big exit. And it's no. Like, that's the byproduct. You got to build something that somebody like really loves and wants to buy. So to get there, you got to not think about the money. It's I got to think about like taking phenomenal care of these people and showing them that I'm totally worthy and have earned the right to serve them. And then you do that over and over again. Yeah. Then everything else becomes the byproduct of that. I believe that intensely about business. Like, throw out the, like MBA playbook if you're an entrepreneur. In a lot of cases, it's just hustle, grit, passion, drive, enthusiasm, determination, doing the right thing, being honest, taking care of people, being trustworthy.
Doing it
that
over
formula,
and over again. Yeah, that's what works.
At scale, at volume, there you go. That's it.
And that's a prime example of what Danny did in New Orleans, right? That's why
I could tell.
Get to 100 clients. You don't do that by waiting to have somebody call you.
No.
He went so over and above to make sure that, especially with the early clients, that they got the results, right? That he could show in black and white that, hey, here's
and not me either too. It's the team that's really kind of bought into that idea and that really delivers on it every day.
Yes.
But
we're super lucky. I am super lucky.
You
for
set
that.
the standard and the pace, and then you hired people that bought into that, and so you're scaling your ethos and your belief system. And look, Dave had the quote about like if you what was it? It was like if you want to make people sailors,
Oh yeah! Don't tell them to that they're going to be building, putting nails
make
in
them
board
yearn to go to sea.
Make them yearn to go.
Sell them on, and then they'll just it just comes in. That's what that's what you have to do. You have to. I remember like this was a young, arrogant thing I said, although I don't regret saying it, but my last business, like big banks were my customers. I had this as the mentality I had. I was like, okay, like the top 100 banks are my prospects. They're all going to be my customer. And I remember meeting with this guy, and he's like, we had this desktop sales tool for call preparation. He's like, well, I can't get my people to use it. Well, I can lead them to water, but I can't make them drink. I was like, your job isn't to make them drink. Your job is to make them thirsty. And he looked at me like I was like 27. He's like 50, like I am now. He's like freaking arrogant little prick. But it's true though. Like if you're a good leader, that's what you do. You don't make people do things. You make them want to do things. Like that's tricky.
All you can do is hope to influence them and hope you set a good example for it.
But hats off to you, because see, there's a lot of people that can do it, but they don't know how to teach it. Like Larry Bird was frustrated as a basketball coach because so much came to him naturally and didn't understand why, like people didn't understand the things he understood, and he would get really frustrated. So it's really cool to have the skill set of being able to do something, but then also, which is what that guy's problem was, like he could do it, so he became a manager, but then he didn't know how to, quote, make people do things. You have to inspire them to want to do them. You lead by example and you show them the way, but you have to find the people that want to have the dog after the ball, and then they follow you and they go, I see it, and then they.
And look, that's the entrepreneurial journey, because I remember his first couple of staff.
Oh, it's pretty went stupid in the beginning.
There was the blind leading the blind, and so you've got to go through those. Yeah, but you got to go through those lessons, so that you can come out the other side and say, okay, that was painful, and there's a better way.
To be honest, too, like in the beginning, I was trying to make money, and I did get a couple of clients, but I did terrible work, and I have to be responsible for that. But I think if you own your outcomes, the market's telling you something, and if you're doing the right thing, kind of like what you were saying earlier, if you're taking care of the customers, you call them when they need you, and you're kind of on top of doing the right thing consistently, and you always show up, they start to trust you. That's when things will start to go in the right direction for you. And if things aren't going in the right direction, you kind of have to look at yourself and see what you need to do to change, to make the results that you want to happen actually happen. And then ideally, once you learn what those things are, you have to show others, and you have to be a part of that. And they need to know why they're doing it too. Like you said, they need to know what the impact is it helps others. And I think the coolest part of the job, or the coolest part of the business, is not kind of all the fluff and the stuff of what we're doing. It's the fact that we get to help the greatest industry in the world, bars and restaurants everywhere.
Yes, amen.
I've been thanked. Like my wife's an attorney. She does awesome work. She cares about her clients. She's a really great lady. She's like, the amount of time she hears me get thanked at work or something, she's like, it just blows her mind. She's like, this just doesn't happen. Like being able to serve the industry that serves others is a privilege.
And providing them the same hospitality that they built their business to provide their guests is a winning formula every time, especially for those of us at this table that we're in the same, like you said, most
same
places
universe,
like 10 restaurants or less, 10 locations, like that's where we thrive too. And like, once it gets to a certain size, it's about something different. But those smaller mom and pops and, 3, 5, 8, 10 location, it's just such a part of their DNA. And so, and they rarely get that back. Like most people that they buy from don't treat them that way, or don't have that same level of service, or like that freaking jackass that we were talking about on LinkedIn. I'm not going to say his name. Patronize them and look down on them. And like I hold these people up in great reverence. I mean, I didn't coming into this. I didn't, because I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't get what it took to really run a successful, independent hospitality business. And then I learned from doing this podcast and those books. I went, okay, I thought I wanted to have a restaurant one day for the same reason everybody does. Like, that'd be cool. But the that'd be cool crowd doesn't make it in this world. It's the that'd be cool for 1% of the time, and the rest of the time, man, it is like super hard to run a successful business.
That store you have, forgive me, I don't remember the name of the place, of the barbecue restaurant, but these guys doing barbecue, it's amazing the amount of effort they have to put in, coming in at crazy hours just to watch the meat and then be able to deliver on that consistently.
Every day there's a problem, a fire, a metaphorical fire, a literal fire. There's somebody quits. It is like I always imagine myself, like, how would I handle that? I'd be like, I'd freaking crack eventually. I couldn't do it. It's just like, because it never stops every freaking day. So then the skills that you have to learn from the financial management skills, to the leading a team of people skills, to the engaging unruly customer skills, to dealing with, oh crap, like we're slammed and our fridge just went out, like or we just being like, how do you keep your cool and just go? It reminds me, I talk about this all the freaking time. I put it in a post today, but have you guys ever seen do you all know who Jocko Willink is?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen his the Jocko Good, the Good video?
Not the video.
Oh,
What's the name of that book that he did?
Well, he did Discipline Equals Freedom, and that was his first one. He's done several books now.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it. I have Discipline Equals Freedom.
I had one on my nightstand. I don't know if I read the whole thing or most of it, but man, it's.
Oh, dude! All right, you know what we're gonna do, guys? Watch this.
It's killing me.
Because I can put the mic up, and we're gonna watch this video, because I think this is how, like, you have to have this mentality you better have this mentality if you're running a restaurant. I think it's true in any business, but all right, let's watch this. Let's see here. Make it part of the episode.
Oh, these are amazing.
Wow, that's good.
Wow, these are good.
That's delicious. What if I told you that
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on, and he'd say, "Boss, we got this and that and the other thing," and I'd look at him and I'd say, "Good." And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem, and he said, "I already know what you're gonna say." And I said, "Well, what am I gonna say?" He said, "You're gonna say good." He said, "That's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say, good. And I said, well, yeah. When things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
Extreme Ownership is the
Extreme
name.
Ownership's the name of his
Yeah.
book. But I'm not joking. I watch that video
I love it.
once a week because I've done it for years because I'm trying to deliberately retrain my auto reaction
Yeah.
to be good because it was not that. And I'm learning, but I feel like my point behind this is I think people that are really good as independent restaurant owners, they're very naturally inclined not to necessarily just say good, but they're inclined to go, okay, they absorb the problem and they immediately go into, let's figure out how to solve it. They don't go into this sucks. Like
No pouting. Yeah.
no pouting. And I mean, look, that's going to happen in business. Like, I mean, right now we're, had all this money invested and all this. I told y'all it's like really hard to create awareness. Good. Like that means we can figure out ways to get creative and find new ways to do that, which is a cool challenge versus like, I just want to have the good old days. No, the good old days are gone.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we can't control that, right?
That's a pass.
We can't control how do we deal with what we have.
Yeah.
And like there's two ways to look at that. Like this sucks, not my fault, blah, blah, or good, man.
Yeah.
Let's find new ways to get even better at what we do. Yeah.
I mean, business is such a, it's a game. If you can look at it as a game, I mean, obviously there is, you got to meet financial and pay bills and stuff. But if you can kind of get over that threshold, the next part of it is a game, right? And then that's where the mental stuff comes in, right? And the mental part of playing that game of being able to, you be comfortable with failure and be able to learn from it and be able to to get back up so quickly and try something new, the more successful you're going to be, right?
It puts you, if you can say good, you're going to be in that seat of being responsible and being able to do something about it instead of being a victim.
That's extreme ownership. That's what he talks about. Own every.
Yeah.
He's like I know I've seen him talk about that. Like even when something wasn't my fault, I would just own it anyway because now I'm in control of like what happens next.
It was all about him. If whatever was if they made a mistake, it was a life and death decision constantly.
Yeah.
So if you could treat your business like a life and death decision and just decide, you don't have time to feel sorry for yourself or think about what ifs or what it could have been or what it used to be. It's just, this is what we're doing and this is what it is now. And you got to be ready to fight your way through it. There's
a book I read years ago called Deep Survival. It's just one of those books you read it and you don't ever forget. Like I read books and I'm like, what was that one about? But I remember Made to Stick, like that, and Switch were two that I really like. Yeah. I remember very much what they're about. But Deep Survival talked about he studied people that were in wilderness or wildlife or outdoor unplanned, unexpected, significant emergencies. Like, oh, we're on a charter boat with our buddies and we're out fishing the Gulf and the weather's supposed to be great and everything's cool, but this random storm blew in and our boat got capsized and our life changed like instantly from like what we thought would happen that day to this horrible new situation. Like, what are we going to do? And the big thing that he learned was like over studying like tons of these over decades or whatever it was and interviewing survivors and like tell me the story and all that kind of stuff. It was like the people who made it through that, the common thread was that their mentality was they got over the
Shock.
This shouldn't happen to me part and immediately went to, okay, well, we're going to have to treat this as like an adventure. Like this is like a journey. Like how do we follow this journey to get ourselves back to land? And then the people that panicked and freaked out and couldn't deal with it would wind up like, not making it. They would make bad decisions, or they would freak out, or they would go crazy, or they would take their own life. Like maybe they're up on a mountain and they would, it was that mentality. And it's just, I always thought of that. I'm always like, that's such a great metaphor for like business too, or, raising kids or whatever. Like there's just some bad shit's going to happen that you don't expect. You're like, that's not supposed to happen. Like, but it's going to, it's Murphy's Law. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, well, good. Let's make this a journey and find our way, because we can't change what just happened.
And it's, I like the idea of because you gotta, you listen to that video once, you're like, oh, that makes complete sense. But then of course, a month goes by and something happens and it's completely, you've forgotten that sort of, that messaging. So, to discipline or just to put it on the calendar to watch it once a week and have it sort of replay and just get, okay.
We're some of the coaching we have to do with the franchisees. There was like, man, I was super motivated, but I haven't gotten a win on the board yet. And my favorite Zig Ziglar quote is, I recommend, like, motivation doesn't last, but neither does bathing, and that's why we recommend doing it daily.
Yeah.
So
that is so awesome.
So I like that video. I like the idea of watching that video weekly, because once you get into it, it's a new battle. Maybe it's not necessarily a sales battle per se. It requires mental toughness to be in business for yourself.
It will rewire your brain.
Yep.
I mean, I've been doing it for several weeks. Like it doesn't happen overnight, but it's like anything. Like it's the same thing. Like just keep doing it, and then eventually you start to get more and more to like.
I don't know if I've gotten to the point to be like, good, I really appreciate this yet, but I do know that anytime something bad's happening, it's temporary, and it does usually get a lot better after, because whatever it is that sucks that happens, you tend to learn the most to figure your way out of it.
That's right.
And you become not even necessarily the business results after, but who you become as a person to figure your way out of that. You just grow so much, and I think that's where the real value is. So,
there's a book called Anti-Fragile that I've read too many times, but about Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and he coined the term anti-fragile. He's like, there's no word for the opposite of fragile, but things are anti-fragile, and he has like three criteria. He says you're either fragile, like if I had a teacup right now and I dropped it on that floor, it would break because it's fragile. You're robust, like this wood table. I banged on it, it didn't hurt it, but it didn't get better. But like my muscles, if I put them through a short, acute, extreme stressor, and then I give it time to rest, it grows and gets better. That's anti-fragile. So it benefits from harm or benefits from disorder. And that's how I look at like that. It's like you want to get these short, acute stressors, whether it's COVID or it's a ransomware attack or it's whatever it is, like this short period of suck, like it can break you. Or you can just go, okay, now we're just going to be like, it didn't break us, but we didn't get better from it. Or you can go, I want to be like, how do I get better because of that?
The fun thing too about business is like the long term, you can kind of trick yourself. Oh, this is my problem right now. If only I could fix this problem. But the truth is, as soon as you fix that problem, boom, next problem's up.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be something you struggle with. So you just need to learn how to struggle well. And if you can do that, you won't be a complete pain to everyone around you.
Did you ever watch Mad Men?
Oh, love that show.
Some of it, not the
twice.
whole.
Okay, so you probably remember this one. Don Draper goes, you don't want to be happy. What is happiness? It's just a moment before you need more happiness. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's what it is. Like, you're happy, and then that's done, and then you need, you just need more. Like, that's a great show.
Oh man, there's a great character acting, great dialogue in that whole show too.
Great dialogue. Yeah, it really is. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I love hanging out with y'all.
Yeah,
This
this
is
has
a
been
great
pretty cool, man.
conversation.
This is a great setup and great restaurant.
Yeah.
Good company, good chat.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, for sure.
Absolutely. We need to find a way to, this is one way, but like we need to, I was talking to Dave about that. Like we got to find a way to get what y'all are doing in front of our customer base, because it's such a natural overlap. We have like
Well, it's
coffee shops and ice cream, but I don't know what number of our customers would fit, but it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, and they should know, what y'all are doing.
I do think I've seen schedule fly in some of ours too, but I think, it seems like a lot of the underlying philosophy that we both believe is kind of the same, and I think that usually means that the customers that appreciate us would appreciate you guys too. So
I think there's a lot of people down in your market, from what I understand. Sean Josephs is the pinhook guy that's down there, so I need to get y'all connected. He's in New Orleans. He lives there. But he says, Will, he's like, there's so many bars down here that are just, he's like, there's just so many, they just don't like a lot of technology. I'm like, I'm like, we don't have a lot of customers in New Orleans. I guess they use something else. He's like, no, they don't. They don't use anything. They use paper or they use Excel. Or he's like, this is such a right market for you. You need to come down here. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to, and then I haven't come. But anyway, I think I need to get down there.
Yeah, we should do something. And I would personally say, if you come down, I know you got friends there, but we'll make sure you eat really well.
Do you know Neil Bodenheimer?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they use y'all?
No, we don't work with Neil yet. We work with
Yet.
I see. I was just about to say that. I love that. Yeah,
Well,
that's the right mentality. No,
you know,
that's it.
He knows about us, and he's a super nice guy. I like him a lot. I'm a huge fan of his places. Cure's awesome. Cannon Table's great. Val's is also a really cool restaurant as well. But funny enough, we had, I think 2 years ago, we had our conference. So Ray was talking about our conference for Barmetrix. We had it in New Orleans. And Jewel of the South is one of the restaurants that we work with. And I'm really, really close with those guys. And we had scheduled a cocktail reception over there. And they were doing some construction. It was supposed to be done a month before. And I kind of found out like 2 days ahead of time that we weren't going to be able to host it at Jewel. And Neil kind of ended up helping us out and just letting us in like with almost no notice to stay at Peychaud's in the French Quarter, and did a real solid for us. We had a awesome setup. So I don't know if I told him that or not, but I'm super grateful that he hooked us up. So, regardless of whether he works with us or not, he's a great dude, and cool restaurants and everything. So
we had him on the podcast.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, through who was it? I don't know if it was Nitzel or I can't remember, but I know. Yeah, anyway, we had him on, and he seems like a super cool dude, super down to earth, cool, smart dude.
Yeah. All my interactions with him have been nice, pleasant, great.
But you got so many of those places down. So many freaking amazing places.
Yeah, there's New Orleans is just chock full. Like I lived in Baton Rouge. And then just a year and a half ago, my wife and I bought a place in New Orleans because we're going there every weekend to do restaurants. And it's like we can't even eat at all the places that we want. And as you go, you're like, well, I love this place. This place is awesome. And so it gets into a rotation of like, okay, we're going to go to one of our solid ones, and we'll go to a new one. But the solid list gets longer and longer and longer. And we still have 20, 30 places that we want to go eat at that we haven't been to yet. It's a wonderful city. It's got an awesome restaurant and bar scene. So I recommend New Orleans to anyone that's looking for a tour guide or a list of suggestions. I got you.
Do you go down there a lot? Do you travel a lot?
More recently.
Yeah. I've been down there a number of times. I've probably in total maybe 4 or 5 times, I guess, I've been down there. My wife went to university down there, so that was probably the first time we
came to my wedding.
Came down to Danny's wedding.
When was your wedding? When did you get married?
20 years ago, wasn't it, this stage?
2014.
That's what Alicia would say that.
Huh. It's been longer for her than for me.
Yeah.
Do you know Ryan Pruitt over at Pesh? Do you know Pesh?
I love Pesh.
Okay.
I
I guess Ryan's like, I mean, they're part of that group, but he's like the
it's
managing partner there or
group.
whatever. Yeah.
They have some great restaurants too.
He was on, we had him on recently too. Super cool dude. Really cool dude. How many kids do you have?
No kids.
No kids yet. Okay.
Yeah.
You got the 2,
I got
6
the
and
2.
4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll wrap this up. That was fun.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll,
really enjoyed it. Thanks for letting me be here today, and that was fun. I enjoyed talking to those folks.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was just we're here at to help John launch his the latest Barmetrix franchise in Charlotte. Great market, so we're excited to see what he can do here. But from what we've seen around town, it's the ideal market. Really great restaurants, a good mixture, a lot of concentrated down in the downtown area. So we're excited about coming back down here again.
A lot of new places opening because there's so much growth. That's actually my last thing is, how do y'all, if you're John or you're one, or do you do this at the home office, how do you find places that are getting ready to open, like new places?
Or new restaurants?
Is it just local awareness or?
It's Yelp, it's Google. There's always local trade magazines that are up to date. Restaurant associations.
Yeah.
But most of the time, there's usually a local paper that highlights all the new places that are opening.
Yeah. Okay.
But we don't even specifically target.
Yeah.
We target
a lot of the people that use us, they're usually in business or
well, they need to know that they have they need to have a problem. That
If we're working with a brand new place, a lot of times it's a guy owns a bar or a restaurant or two, and they're opening another one. They're like, oh God, we can't do this without you, and we need to make sure you're here in the beginning. So we do get a lot of that, but if they're usually coming to us once they already feel like they have a problem, if they're reaching out. And I think we're working off of what we're saving them is off of a percentage of sales essentially. So once they're selling and they're in business, they're like, hey, this, I think I might need some help with something. And, if we can go in there and prove that, then we know we have a partner. So, people are smart, man. Like they have instincts. They have a gut feel of something that they might have noticed or question. I think most of the time these guys are right. And it's just a matter of it's a problem they want to deal with or not.
Yeah. I was asking that sort of selfishly because I'm always trying to find for new places, we're perfect because.
Oh yeah, because you need to schedule day one.
You just don't want to be, and we're so inexpensive that it's oh, okay. It's not like some barrier to entry because I don't, like some of these other big systems. It's well, we're not quite there yet, but so I'm always trying to figure out.
I was in a networking group in New Orleans for a little while, and it was people that sold to bars and restaurants, but it was one guy was a waste company, one guy was merchant services, another lady was with the restaurant association. Really the restaurant association reps, they're the ones chasing the new restaurants because they want those new memberships as quickly as possible. So those people, if you have an active restaurant association in each city, they're kind of like a wealth of knowledge. They know everybody that's coming online.
Yep. Okay. All right, cool. We'll call that a wrap. That was a good episode.
Awesome.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate you. Really enjoy getting to know y'all. This is the coolest way to get to know people in business, people that you may want to work with. It's let's just sit down and talk, and share stories. And
no, this is awesome.
A plus, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's a wrap.